Governor Justice, thanks for joining us.
Dan, thanks for having me.
So you signed the pay raise bill today. It passes. It's now in law, and it looks like the teachers are going to be heading back to school. Can you tell us a little bit about how this deal came together?
Well, Dan, the first thing is, I went out on the road, met a little kid. The little kid said basically, why don't you look at education as an investment? And I had all along, that was what I said all along. It ought to be a centerpiece, ought to be an economic driver and everything else. But some way, to be perfectly honest, I'd lost a little bit of my way. So I don't have any problem, admitting a mistake and everything and going forward. And so what I did then is come back and I started running the numbers and looking. Then I met with the union people and I said, what do you really want to make you really happy? And they said, 5. And I said, okay. They left. I met with the Senate President. I met with the Speaker. And I said, this is what I'm going to do, because this is what I've stood with all along, and this is what I really believe in. So it's a different day. It's a day to look at education as an investment in our kids and to really try to move the needle forward to where education does become an economic driver. It's really important. It's really, really, really not been done that way very much, and really not done that way very much on the national scene as well.
Governor Justice, what was your involvement in bringing the House and the Senate together on this?
Well, I wouldn't waver off the 5% for one thing, and the Senate came to 4-4, which was a great big move for them and everything, and let's give them credit for that. But 4-4 was identical to 5-3. And we all wanted to treat everyone the same. It was just a matter of having the monies and everything to be able to do so. So when the idea, came up, and I thought an awful lot about it, I talked with the Speaker about it, I talked with the President of the Senate about it, about the possibility of 5-5, and basically what we have to do is we got to go back and cut into tourism a little more, cut into our commerce stuff a little more. But the bottom line of the whole thing is there's been some dispute about the $58 million of revenue that I put in, and really and truly, that's real money. It is real money, and it's going to come to pass. And so as far as someone saying, well, let's delay it until it really comes, I don't have an issue with that whatsoever, because it's going to come.
Let's get into that. Does that concern you at all that it looks like cuts are going to be coming to commerce, tourism, and Medicaid?
There's no cuts going to come to Medicaid.
Okay.
That's an impossibility. The reason it's an impossibility is this. The cash is already there in the account, and $10 million to Medicaid is a 2-day spend in Medicaid. It's a drop in the bucket. Last year we ended up with a surplus in the Medicaid account of $173 million. Hard to believe. It's an incredible amount of money. Now, but the bottom line is, if we were to get out and we were to need that to fund that $10 million, the cash is already there in the first place, and so that's just all that is not a cut. It is just basically a line item reduction in the budget. And so that's not there at all. Now, I am concerned about this. I'm concerned on one hand about the tourism dollars, and I'm concerned about the commerce dollars and everything. But only concerned up to this level is if you really believed that the money really wasn't going to come and the $58 million wasn't real, of which I know it's real. I know it's real. It's coming every month and everything. There's no reason in the world to be concerned.
Why do you believe that Senate Republicans didn't believe in those revenue projections?
Oh, I think more than anything, it's a political play. It's just hitting back, and
these are people from your party, though.
I know that. I know, and I love them totally to death and everything. But at the same time, we all, when we get frustrated, we all hit back, and I do too. And but at the end of the day, the 4-4 that was proposed is identical money to the 5-3. The holding back on the $58 million until the monies really get there is it's just a way of wrangling, and we shouldn't be doing that.
Let's move on now to PEIA. A lot of people, many of these teachers were calling for a permanent fix to this. You've announced that there is a task force that's being assembled that's going to address this. Can you elaborate on that at all? Do you have a timeline?
Well, you know me, I'm an impatient guy,
Sure.
first and foremost. But, we have frozen PEIA for 16 months, so we got some time. But we don't want to go 16 months by any stretch of imagination. For crying out loud, this is something that ought to be solved, and we ought to come up with real alternatives in the short term. Now, we have our first meeting slated for, I think, March the 13th.
Okay.
So this thing is
coming up.
It's really moving. And the other thing is, we don't have quite all the appointments to the board because we're waiting on either union recommendations or the House or whatever it may be. And so we should finish up all the appointments on Thursday of this week, and you know, we'll have real results from that board. But in all honesty, fixing PEIA, you know, healthcare costs are going to continue to go up, and fixing PEIA just on a permanent basis today would cost hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. It can't be done without finding a source of revenue that we can permanently dedicate to PEIA. And so there's lots of ways to go. You know, I had the opportunity today. I had lunch with the Chinese at you know, over at the mansion and everything. Listened to a lot of projects, and that's moving along. Our commerce people are working it really hard and everything. That could become a reality. Our roads could become a reality. We're growing in this state. Imagine this, Dan. We're growing at 4.71%. Now, last year, before, and I want to pat myself a little bit on the back for this, but before I came into being, we were growing at 1.7, and we had a $500 million hole in the bucket. Now we don't have a hole, you know. So just give me a little bit of time, and you know, we're going to get this fixed.
Governor, we got to ask you, between the budget issues that went on last year and then the teacher strike this year, what has been the most difficult thing for you to deal with as governor?
Oh, you know, from a frustration standpoint, last year was really tough because I felt like that I had it done 2 or 3 different ways, and a lot of times we got into the political wrangling again, and people dove in the ditch at the last minute, and that was really disappointing. It was really frustrating. This year was sad. I mean, that's all there is to it, because you know, I feel like I made a mistake in the beginning. You know, I did the 1-1-1-1-1 because I really last year couldn't get to 2% through, and I thought if I did 1 for everybody and 1 for everybody and 1-1-1 for the teachers, that was the answer to everything, and lo and behold, it wasn't. And so you know, I hated like crazy seeing our kids out of school. I mean, for crying out loud, guys. I mean, our kids need to be in school, and families are being disrupted, and we're on the national news and everything every night, and it's just not good. And you've got so many teachers and service personnel and those people really upset. It was, this weighed on me pretty dadgum badly.
Governor Justice, thank you for your time.
Dan, thank you guys for everything you do all the time.
Absolutely.
Thank you, buddy.